Welcome back, everyone. What a great day it's been. We have one more presentation. Let's get right into it. We have American Premium Mining on the OTC. It trades under HIPH and is a diversified consumer products company focused on harnessing the power of its proprietary Hydro Nano technology that utilizes CBD and other compounds to help increase the quality of life for its consumers. Please welcome its CEO, Ryan Fishoff. Welcome, Ryan.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me again.
We look forward to hearing your presentation. Take it away.
Sure. So I just want to note, and before we begin, we have our typical disclosures or disclaimer of all statements are forward-looking statements, and typical boilerplate forward-looking statement that you can find on our website. Just to quickly dovetail, we are no longer American Premium Water. We are, in fact, now American Premium Mining Corporation, and we are focusing on becoming at the forefront of digital finance, specifically in the crypto mining and blockchain space. So that's one of the things I look forward to presenting to you, the investors, over the course of the next 30 minutes to give you a little more detail about how this came about and what we're looking to do. But before I begin, just want to give a little background on myself. For those of you who are not familiar, I am the CEO of American Premium Mining Corporation. I've been CEO of the company for 4.5 years, since September of 2017. Before my tenure at the company, I owned and operated a couple of small consumer products brands, and prior to that, I spent 6.5 years working in private equity, focusing on corporate carve-outs. The firm I worked for focused on cross-border transactions and carve-outs. And over the 6.5 years, I participated on over $500 million of transactions that spanned 13 countries across North America and Europe. And then right out of college, which I graduated Boston University, I worked for, at the time, Liz Claiborne in a divisional and corporate financial positions. So I have some experience, and just wanted to give that update for those of you who are not familiar with me. But enough about me. Let's go on to why we're here. So as I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, we recently over the weekend announced the acquisition of CloudX. Cloud Exchange Data Center, which is a crypto mining related business that is domiciled in Singapore and operations in Texas and Malaysia. The purchase price of this transaction was $45.6 million, which was funded 100% with restricted common shares of HIPH stock. This is certainly ushering in a monumental shift in direction for the company. But additionally, and what I see the huge benefit is, it brings a large guaranteed profit for the company, as the seller in this transaction has guaranteed $1.5 million of gross profit within the first 12 months of our company's ownership. I mean, this has been really, really significant for us, as I can attest personally, trying to struggle to generate revenue and cash flow for the company. This was a no-brainer transaction, and this acquisition has precipitated our shift towards crypto mining and our name change, American Premium Mining. So just to give everyone a little background on crypto mining and what exactly that entails. Crypto mining is essentially, it's not actual physical mining like coal, like you have people with digging the earth. Crypto mining is CPUs, or computers, that are running highly sophisticated calculations, trying to solve mathematical equations that secure the block, which is essentially verifying transactions done for the blockchain. And in doing so, the owner of the CPU unit earns cryptocurrency, or the block, for successful mathematical equations. And then another part of the operations of CloudX is staking. Staking is essentially just leveraging owned assets, crypto assets, and earning yields off of them. You put them in for, it's almost like a cash deposit. You put your crypto, lock it in for a set period of time, and then on that period of time, you earn an interest rate of other crypto. So it's pretty basic and straightforward. Move to the next slide. So just to give you an overview, Bitcoin will be primarily the primary focus of CloudX. It's the highest concentration of that we're focusing on. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with Bitcoin. It represents 41% roughly of total market share of all cryptocurrencies. It's certainly the market leader, and it's certainly the one that we're predominantly focusing on. Just to give you some more background about crypto mining, the machines that we acquire for crypto mining are singularly focused. That means that they're dedicated to one particular cryptocurrency, and it cannot be changed later on. So when you pick it, you are stuck with that cryptocurrency. So certainly we are focusing on Bitcoin, as we feel that it's going to be a high growth over the next 3 to 5 years. But as a hedge, we want to focus on some other cryptocurrencies that could also provide some value and some growth proposition. The next one that the second largest concentration of assets is Ethereum. Ethereum is probably the most second well-known cryptocurrency. It's used to fuel a lot of NFT transactions. Many of you are probably familiar with it. It represents about a little over 19% of the entire market. And some of these other coins, just if you're not familiar with Litecoin represents about 4% of the 3% of the total market cap of crypto. Litecoins came to fame as it was developed right after Bitcoin, and it essentially processes transactions about 4 times faster than Bitcoin. So it's attractive to certain merchants. It's established itself. Cardano, which is the K, that's a fairly new blockchain, and that's something we've also invested some resources in. That one was recently was brought to market 2 or 3 years ago, and essentially what's unique about it is that it's a proof of work like blockchain, but it incorporates something called directed acyclic graph, which essentially allows more processes per transaction. So essentially, it is more energy efficient for transactions, which is something that is a very big theme. Carbon neutral and environmental sustainability is a theme that we'll touch on later in the presentation, but something that's very topical with crypto. So it's something that we've invested in, and we think there's a good growth potential for it. The last one that we have some exposure to is Dogecoin. And a lot of people might be familiar with Dogecoin when it exploded last year, having been heavily touted by Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, and a bunch of other well-known executives and business leaders. It's certainly came to fame as a meme coin, so to speak, but with Elon Musk's continued presence in the news, we feel that this has a future, especially if Elon is successful in acquiring Twitter. We think that there's probably be a lot of applications because he's heavily invested in Doge. There's a high probability that Doge will be utilized with Twitter in some form in terms of making purchases. So it's something that we think, we have limited risk to it because it is definitely a risky asset, but I think it's worth the risk, or worth the upside at least. And just to give you a breakdown of our service providers. So as part of CloudX is working with 2 different service providers, as I mentioned earlier, that have locations in 3 different countries, Singapore, Malaysia, and Texas. The primary reason for this was done to spread out operational and potential geopolitical and regulatory risks, just with the ever-changing regulatory environment for crypto. Just something to note that the operations in Malaysia, in Sarawak, is powered by a hydroelectric dam, which is actually one of the most sustainable sources of energy, and it's very attractive to us. And clean and sustainable energy is something that we will address later in this presentation, and it's going to be a theme of the future of American premium mining. Next slide. So getting a little more in depth about staking. So as I mentioned earlier, staking is essentially a cash deposit, and that's another aspect of CloudX. What's unique about our staking is that it's not any particular cryptocurrency, but it's actually a cryptocurrency that's related to crypto mining. So our staking program is with Poolin, which is the second largest Bitcoin mining pool. So Bitcoin mining pools are essentially people pooling together their hash rate or their mining capabilities to form collectives. And Poolin has created tokens that are essentially registering these collective terahashes, these mega staking, or these mega hash rate tokens. So essentially, what we're doing is by purchasing these tokens, we're hedging our operational risk, as well as we're keeping our exposure towards Bitcoin mining. It's just a different way of giving ourselves exposure and upside to Bitcoin mining. So I think this is pretty innovative for what we're doing, and it's something we're going to explore more as we go forward. Just in terms of as we look to the future, we anticipate this transaction will close in the next month or so. And then after we've had a few months of consistent revenue, we will be looking to leverage cash flows to expand further into more crypto mining. And that's the thing is, as we look to, expand our operations, probably the biggest variable is the price of Bitcoin itself. And that's one thing we just cannot control. But aside from that, there are a number of other variables or factors that we can control. So, one of the key things is good management, working with good partners who have an established track record in the space, who know how to operate these data centers, how to also understand that they've had an established track record of keeping up high uptime. So just to give you a little overview of what uptime means, that's essentially keeping the machines operating. The industry standard is to make sure that machines are operating at 95% or more of the time. There's certainly allocations. These machines overheat, they need maintenance. So 5% is within the variable. This is, there are sunk costs. It's a capital item. Every second or every minute the machines are not operating, they're not generating cash flow. So it's important that we work with key operators who have experience and have had an established track record being efficient. Also, the thing, as I mentioned before, affordable energy. Energy cost is the biggest cost driver of crypto mining, and it's something we are constantly looking at acquiring sustainable and cheap sources of energy. Something that I just learned also the other day is that there are a number of crypto mining businesses out there, but 80% of these businesses are not profitable. It's quite striking that, and these are the factors: the cost of energy, management, downtime, are ones that drive the costs or drive unforeseen costs that make these operations not profitable. So it's something that we're taking into account as we focus on the next stage, at securing the next investment. And we're having internal discussions about securing a credit facility to fuel further expansion, so we can look to raise expected generated profit to $4.5 million by the end of our year 2 of this, and with further reinvestment of those proceeds, looking to do hopefully $7 million in gross profit by the end of year 3. Certainly during this time, as we expand our footprint, our crypto mining footprint, we'll be looking to uplist and hopefully join the NASDAQ, where we're definitely going to explore a larger equity raise that could potentially provide more growth capital to increase those numbers. But the numbers that I gave are something that are conservative, and we feel quite confident that we can achieve with the trajectory that the company's on. Next slide. So as I mentioned a number of times, accessible energy, sustainable energy is a key for crypto mining. And as we look to expand our mining operations, we are in tandem going to look to secure cheap, clean, and sustainable energy that can be used to power these activities. Hydropower, as I mentioned earlier, is the most desirable form of renewable energy, as it's in constant supply, unlike solar power, where there's a sunset and you need batteries to be able to maintain the energy created by the solar panels overnight. We're also looking at harnessing wind power as well as geothermal sources and flare wells in both North America and around the world. And like I said, having that cross-border experience, I think, will be very helpful when dealing with some of these energy deals that will be critical part to driving profitability for us. As we go to the next slide, also part of our long-term goal is not just to become a pure crypto miner, but also offer services to customers. This is something that I think will be a unique feature of us. And there's definitely different services that we're looking to provide that there's certainly a demand for. And as we expand our mining footprint and capabilities, we'll be able to provide home mining opportunities for people to mine crypto at their home. Also set up hosting and data centers that could support pool mining, as well as provide hosting services for other service providers and data centers. And again, this is something that we're looking to do that will further diversify our revenue growth and drive more differentiation amongst the other competitors in the space. And I want to bring that up when I say competitors in the space, because that's something that I alluded to earlier. We said that we had we came up to a purchase price of $45.6 million for the acquisition of CloudX. Again, as I mentioned, it was done with restricted stock. And I think a key factor that investors need to be aware of is, because this is restricted stock and because it's a very sizable amount of stock, the actual seller themselves will be an affiliate. So there won't be a huge flooding of the market of shares once the hold period is over, and there won't be a tremendous amount of dilution. So I think it's that's another aspect of the transaction that makes it very, very attractive for the company. As well as we got that number based off of an average of the price equity ratios of competitors in the space, as you see here: Argo Blockchain, Bit Digital, Bitfarms, Hive Blockchain, Hut 8 Mining, and Riot Blockchain. Again, as I mentioned, a lot of these are pure crypto mining plays in terms of investors are investing in just the ability to Bitcoin and mine crypto. We want to offer more services than just mining crypto. We want to provide some services to customers and grow that part of the business. And I think just, our long-term goal is going to be establish ourselves as a diversified player in Bitcoin mining space. And we want to be able to offer different services to create shareholder value. And as we alluded to earlier, we changed our name from American Premium Water Corporation to American Premium Mining. This is something that we wanted to make sure that there was no confusion about what our purpose is. We're going full into the crypto space. I know I've spent a lot of time in the past in the CBD hemp industry, and we're evaluating and looking at ways that we can monetize the assets and the intellectual capital that we've acquired from that period in the company's time. So it's something that we're actively looking at right now as we continue this transition. I just want to head over also to our team. So over the past 4 or 5 months, we've really ramped up our team and built it up. I think that's one of the things that in the past that we didn't have the resources to have a strong team, and we have a very, very strong team now. We just recently brought on Anthony Chan as our Chief Operating Officer. He's a CPA. He has a number of experience in CFO and COO roles, as well as working at PCAOB auditors, which will be very helpful. We're continuing our audit with Turner & Stone. We're aiming to finish our audit and hopefully become fully reporting by the end of Q2. So he's going to play a very instrumental role in that. Anthony also has worked as a CFO capacity for a crypto mining company. So he has extensive knowledge of the space. So his knowledge has already been invaluable as we've evaluated this transaction, and I look forward to working with him in the near term. And that pretty much is it. I know we have a little more time for questions. I'd like to open it up.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan. We do have some questions for you. Gil G says, congratulations on the recent acquisition financing. How many shares will be issued for the acquisition at the end of the day?
So it was based on a VWAP. We haven't calculated that. It'll be a significant amount. But like I said earlier, they're going to be restricted. They're restricted for a year. And then even after that, they'll be heavily restricted because just by the sheer volume of it, the seller will be an affiliate of the company. So there won't be a worry about dilution or flooding the market with shares. So that's something that I think is a very good aspect of this deal. That's the second best aspect of the transaction. The first being that we have a profit guarantee of $1.5 million in the first 12 months.
Christy Hawkins and Fred Margulies, longtime shareholder. Can you go over what happened to Gents and what is happening to the water division?
So like I alluded to, I mean, we are exploring strategic alternatives or strategic ways that we can monetize the amount of the assets that we've accumulated over the years that were in the consumer products hemp CBD space. So that's something I'm having ongoing discussions now. That we have a few opportunities that we're discussing, and I certainly we want to get this done fairly quickly so we can focus fully on our new direction of being a full service crypto mining provider.
Tony Roberts asks, are you basically a competitor of Marathon Digital Holdings on the NASDAQ?
Yes, we are. I mean, I think Marathon Digital Holdings, all the companies that we listed in the previous slide, which I'll go back to, these are, our competitors. I mean, we're not on the NASDAQ yet, but we aim to be there. We aspire to be. We have a business plan that, I'm very confident will put us in a position to be able to uplist towards the NASDAQ, especially with the completion of our audit. So, certainly that's where, offering other services will help us differentiate ourselves. I mean, Bitcoin mining itself is pretty rudimentary. It's just coming up with ways that we can diversify our revenue as well as provide ancillary or auxiliary services that will appeal not only to customers, but also shareholders will be able to see the added value they bring, which we feel will increase shareholder value and also differentiate company differentiation.
Rick West asks, when you say this acquisition is guaranteeing you 1.5 million in earnings, how old is this company and what have their sales, profit, and growth been over the past few years?
So it's more from the seller itself. The guarantee is in the sense that the seller will, as part of the definitive agreement, which we have not signed yet, but we expect to in the next couple of weeks, the seller themselves, if there is a profit shortfall within 12 months after the close of the transaction, the seller will provide backstop or provide the gap of profit. Let's say, for example, it only after 12 months generates 1.3 million of gross profit. The seller will provide $200,000 to make up the gap. So it's pretty ironclad in the agreement.
Renato Forenza asks, is there a plan to do a reverse split? And do you see uplisting in the next 6 months?
Right now, there are no plans for reverse split. I think right now it's just our focus right now remains closing this transaction, getting some revenue on the books, making sure that everything is operating smoothly. I mean, we're dealing with 3 different countries logistically. Also completing our audit. That's a key thing. And also making sure we have the financial controls in place going forward to be able to properly account for this as going forward. This will be our primary business. It needs to be audited. So those are our primary focuses over the next 6 months, as well as expansion opportunities and seeing how we can increase our investment into this space. So those are I would say our 3 objectives over the next 6 months.
Dave Fields asks about your technology ownership. Do you, now or current acquisition, own your own miners? Are you in various third-party mining pools?
So that's a good question. Yes, we own the miners. We are not in third-party mining pools. Essentially, our miners are different operators, and they're operating and they're collecting a fee on top of the electricity that they charge us. So that's how it's structured. But we own everything. We own the actual assets, the CPUs or the GPUs.
Pat R asks, since you're mining digital currency, is there any discussion on a dividend to shareholders?
It's been under consideration. I think we still have a lot of cleanup to do as far as before we can discuss dividends. But I mean, certainly, if we go on the trajectory that we think we will, I think it's certainly up for consideration or discussion in the future. I think it's something that we would like to give back to the shareholders. But it's very, very premature for that. And certainly, I would say a year or two away at the earliest.
Gail F also asks, is there any revenue split with the seller?
No, in terms of that the fee comes out of the cost. So our it's already baked in. So what we generate, we capture everything. So that's like an actual cost of goods, not a revenue split.
Stephanie Larson asks, is there a plan to put a certain percentage of money back into expansion and use the rest to substantiate the balance sheet? And if so, what's that number?
We don't have a set number. Again, we're really focused on growth. I think it's just looking at opportunistically in terms of how we can grow revenue and profit, once we complete the acquisition. So it's going to be more on an opportunistic basis. I don't think we have a set number. I think growth is really our target. I mean, I gave some numbers in the presentation: 4.5 million by year 2, 7 million by year 3. Those are really our guidelines that we have internally of how we want to be. So that's really what I would say how we're looking at our growth potential or growth opportunities. How can we get to those numbers?
Suresh is a longtime investor of HIPH, and his question is why you shifted your thoughts from CBD products, which is also a good revenue source.
Well, this was an opportunity, and it wasn't something done lightly. I mean, I've spent a lot of time and energy and resources of the company into the CBD and hemp space, but this opportunity presented itself that we could have immediate revenue and cash flow to the company, and it just was too good of an opportunity to pass up. I've been dabbling in the crypto space since the fall. I'm getting a very, very good understanding of it. I was at Bitcoin Miami a few weeks ago. Certainly I have a lot more to learn, but I think we have a great team with us. And I think this is something that provides value to shareholders or growth potential for the shareholders that CBD or hemp that we were working on just couldn't guarantee to present. I mean, there was a potential that we'd be able to reach this, but I think we have a much more higher degree of certainty that we can achieve these numbers with this business model than the hemp and CBD business model that we had.
Great. Well, fantastic presentation. We appreciate your time, and please come back again with some updates.
No, can't wait. I hope you have me again. Always a pleasure being here.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, everyone, what a great full day we've had here. Thank you to all of our presenters. Remember that in just a minute, you're going to be redirected to the registration page for our next conference. So reserve your spot early. On behalf of all of us at Emerging Growth, I'd like to thank all of our presenters and all of our attendees for making this conference such a success. Remember that a complete replay of the conference separated by company is available on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Emerging Growth Conference. Also, follow us on Twitter at Emerging Growth C. We always post new information on Twitter first. I'm Anna Berry. On behalf of myself and our whole team who made this event possible today, I wish you all a successful, happy, and healthy rest of your week, and we'll see you on again soon. Thanks for watching.